Mr. Kapoor, what an honor to speak to you, sir, and welcome to Radio 1, and from me, Hrishi K, and all the listeners, big fan.
Well, what can I say? My namesake, thank you.
Well, I have to say I'm really pleasantly surprised by your singing talents in Badumba. Were there lots of retakes?
I just said to everybody that I'm not a singer, I'm an actor. हम अब सिर्फ होंठ हिलाते हैं, लोग तो गाते तो गौर और है. I was bullied into doing this, तो मैं बड़ा conscious था. मैंने तो कभी गाना भी गाया नहीं. मस्ती में ऐसे बाथरूम में गा लेते ठीक है, but you don't sing it, and that also with Mr. Amitabh Bachchan. You don't sing a song, ये हिमाकत आप नहीं कर सकते कभी. तो वो ऐसे करवाया उन्होंने. और आजकल जैसे कहा वो सब यंत्र आ गए, ऐसे मशीन आ गए जो ऑटो ट्यूनर बोलते हैं, क्या करते हैं, तो शायद ऐसा कुछ करके उन्होंने चलाया होगा, काम चलाऊ काम जिसे है, तो इट केम अबाउट. एंड फॉर मी वेरी फॉर्चुनेट थिंग इज दैट दिस सॉन्ग इज एक्चुअली कंपोज्ड एंड सेट एंड अरेंज्ड बाय मिस्टर अमिताभ बच्चन हिमसेल्फ. एंड अगर मुझे गाना था तो उनकी ही बनी हुई ट्यून पे मैंने गाना गाया, व्हिच इज अ ग्रेट फॉर्चुनेट थिंग फॉर मी.
Mr. Bachchan, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you very much for having me on your station.
Are you happy with his singing talents? He is such an accomplished actor himself. What do you have to say about his singing?
Yeah, I've always believed that a lot of people call actors outside the industry as a triple threat. Means they're an actor, they're a dancer, and they're a singer. So Chintuji is a triple threat. He's an actor, he's a dancer, and he's a singer. So yes, until you probe somebody's talent, you'll never know what they're capable of doing. And I believe that if you call yourself an actor, then you should be ready and prepared to do anything.
But you've worked in so many films together. Let's talk about your directors and who their favorites were. The great Manmohan Desai, Manji, there was Yash Chopra, your uncle. So when the two of you were on the set, those directors, who was their favorite?
Well, we loved working with them. They were all, one was my uncle, Hrishi Kapoor, who also that was his first film, and we worked with him. But Amitji has worked much more with him, and he's a fun-loving director. Obviously, things, of course, he made gravity-defying things in his films. He said something which were impossible, So he did it with conviction, and people, accepted it. And we had great fun making those films, and those films are even watched by today's generation, which is a very, which is very heartening. That today's generation also, they see films like Amar Akbar Anthony, they like it and they enjoy the film, and I'm surprised. It's like it's going on to a third generation, and third generation also should like these kind of films. I know kids back in America who there are so many other films to see, but why Amar Akbar Anthony only? Why that film? So that film has some magic that works in every generation or what, I do not know.
Sir, when you're composing a track, you have to work with arrangers, and obviously things have changed a lot. I mean, one doesn't see the entire orchestra in the studio together. So tell us about the arrangement process and how you went about doing what you did on Badumba.
Yeah, you can arrange your notes and your song with the orchestra, everything on a laptop. There are applications, there are computerized apps that help you do that, and it's made the job very easy. You can change notes, you can bring in instruments, you can put in every possible sound onto the laptop through the computer, and it's just fed into an amplifier and you have a song. So yes, from the good old days when, you used to do live recordings, you had 300-piece orchestra, singers, and you had this one gentleman recordist who had no facility of any kind of computerization to be using his hands with various knobs for the different kinds of instruments that were playing in a huge hall. How he managed it is just impossible to imagine today. I mean, if you come to see some of the recordings that we do today, it's impossible to imagine what these gentlemen, they were purely genius. And not just them, but every musician of the 300 people, every singer, everyone, the conductor, the composer, everyone had to be absolutely correct for the 5-minute duration of that song. One violin or one violinist went wrong, the whole take was cut and you had to start all over again. In today's times, there are many singers, playback singers, and they're very eminent ones. They don't even know sometimes which film they're singing for. And they don't even know who the music director is. They don't even know what the song is. They just come and sing a few lines and they go. And after that, the arrangers, the composers, they put in the sound effects, they put in the musicians, the orchestra, everything. And that's what the advancement of technology is. You can change notes, you cannot imagine the amount of things you can do today. So yes, that's a huge change. But we cannot but appreciate the genius of those people. I mean, I don't know, Chintu, if you remember, Mangesh Desai used to mix a film in Rajkamal's studio with just 4 tracks. And you know that the olden times, the audio track used to run on the film, the print on the left side, and it used to run at 25 frames or perhaps less than that. And you have to match it because film is running on 24. And that the signal for the audio used to come on that track on the left, a visual track. How did they manage to do all that and get it so correct? It's just absolute genius. So great admiration for them. But yes, today's world is different. Life has become a lot easier.
Beautifully described. The process of a director coming and approaching an actor has also changed a little bit. Do you go old school and listen to the narration and figure out whether you want to do the motion picture, or do you read a bound script? How does it work for you, Mr. Kapoor?
You know, I've always said this, that whenever I get a script to read, I have to tell the director, I said, please narrate it to me, because I'm not used to having ever read bound scripts. In the time when I was working, I've been into certain tight spots when the scene was being written on the set. The scene is being written and it would just be quickly performed. And there is a generation of my son who they only read and they cannot hear. So this is a conflicting thing between my generation. With me at least, no one really actually gave me a script, barring just 2-3 films which I may have done. Otherwise, there was no one used to really make a bound script.
So let me ask you that question. Are you still a narration person, or do you like to read the bound script?
I also like to hear a narration. Narration gives an impression of how the narrator or the director or the writer is expressing himself through the story, and sometimes I observe that. Normally, I don't know, everybody says that, but I tell the narrator to tell me the story in 5 minutes, and if he can convince me in those 5 minutes, then I want to have a reading, and I ask for a script and I read it. And I think most of us would do that, because within 5 minutes you should be able to tell an entire story, the beginning, the middle and the end. And that's how I look at it. But I'm sure that there are many other people who have different ideas. There are many artists who don't read, as Chintuji was saying. They listen to their own dialogues from somebody else. So whatever, they don't read their own dialogue. They hear the dialogues being said by a dialogue trainer. They'll say the dialogues, and you go and repeat it. And everybody has their own way and their right of doing things. This is their way of doing it. I cannot do without reading my dialogues. So I guess I'm different.
Mr. Kapoor, I grew up watching him doing Mere Angane Mein and you doing Hum Kisi Se Kam Nahi and Zamane Ko Dikhana Hai. It's obvious that both of you have natural rhythm in your bodies. You might downplay it and say, you're not conventional dancers and this and that. No, but you have great rhythm in your body. Did you have fun? Did you have fun?
Everybody has rhythm. Everybody's an actor also. What is acting? Acting एक अंदाज है ना. The way you say your dialogue, the way you deliver, the way you smile, the way you look at a certain point of view. I personally feel I had 2 left feet. Just got lucky that I was the youngest actor in my time, so there was nobody coming at but scratching my back. So that was it. I didn't really have many problems about that.
In terms of prosthetics, the advancement is remarkable. You've been through the whole hog with Piku recently, and then Pink, and now this particular and Pa, of course, which was really cutting edge. So would you tell us a little bit about the prosthetics team in this particular movie?
All these prosthetic teams were, other than for 102 Not Out, which was a local team, most of them came from overseas, from Hollywood, from Los Angeles. Very professional, and perfection was their almost yardstick. They would not leave you until they were absolutely perfectly sure of what the face is going to look like. So many trials and making masks and making authentic figures of you, trying them on your face, and then spending time doing your makeup. And during the shooting, you had to stop, even if you're in the middle of an emotional scene. If she or he came and said, your makeup's wrong and I need to correct it, we had to stop. And many times you get confused, you get irritated. Why is somebody stopping me when I'm in the middle of something? But that's how they are. And thank God for that, because most of the time, whatever prosthetics that we did were responsible for our performances also. They helped us build the character and gave us an opportunity to look different so that we can be different in front of the screen.
Sir, a little bit about your character. I believe he's a grumpy 75-year-old. Is that it?
Yeah, he is a troubled man. He has a backstory. He's very meticulous about the way his things are. He should not be a disorder. He's finicky. He's not a social animal. He's just lonesome person, and that is what exactly his father doesn't like about him. And because he wants to live in an environment where there should be things which please him, he is a deterrent in that. So he decides to send his son to the old age home. Instead of the son sending the father he's wanting to send the son. So the conflict is that. And why it's happening, I cannot tell you, because there's a part of the story which, when you see it, you'll understand better.
And there is a Chinese person whose record you're trying to break. Just a little bit on that aspect.
Yeah, he's a guy who's 118 years old, and because my character is 102, his desire and dream is to break his record. In a sense, that was an impression wanting to relay to the audience that he's a person who's still full of life. Even after passing the figure of 100 years, he still wants to live and wants to create a record. His main aim is to be able to create a record in the record books, in the Guinness Book of Records. It just showed his attitude towards life. It's full of happiness and joy and living life to the fullest. He wants his son to be the same because he feels that he's very conservative, he's very locked in, he's got certain routines which he has to be performing all the time, and he's got trapped in this very mundane kind of living, and he wants to get him to step out of it and see life and live life in a more lively manner. There is a reason for that, apart from the fact that he wants him to have a happy life, but there is another reason for it, and that of course you'll know when you see the film. But yes, this is basically it. He's wanting his son to come out of this cocoon that he has put himself inside, step out and see the world, do things which are more natural rather than be closed in, closeted. And of course, there is a reason why he wants him to do that.
Mr. Bachchan, there's also an Arijit song, which is Bachche Ki Jaan. You must be a great admirer of his talents. You keep talking about how talented the current singers are.
Yeah, he's a great voice and a huge talent. And how wonderful that, we can have the honor of him singing one of our songs.
A bit about Umesh and the fact that this is based on a Gujarati play.
Yeah.
Gujarati plays have been fodder for Hindi cinema for a while,
Just one, oh my God, was...
Oh my God.
Okay.
Just a little bit of...
Fortunate, we're very fortunate. When Amitji said yes to the film, then they came to me, and in a very short time, I agreed on doing what was offered to me. And I truly believe that it's a very different, and it's not just a comedy film. It's a very emotional film also. It has a great connect, and whatever we are saying, we are actually beating around the bush. We can't tell you the real thing because there's a story in the film. So what is happening is that you will only realize what we told you today is when you see the film, you'll understand it better.
Okay, last few questions. You've just finished 10 years of your blog, sir, and you're going on from strength to strength. It must be really special to you that you take time out in such a disciplined manner to do it.
I don't know whether I'm going from strength to strength, but yes, that's something that I began, and I'm now on day 3,678. That's 3,678 days without ever any break. That's every day. So 10 years every day I've been writing a blog, and some of the responses that I get, I've created a kind of an extended family. There are about 300-400 of them who are continuously with me. They write back, I write back to them. We've created a wonderful atmosphere. I meet them. They travel all over the world. Whenever I'm overseas, they come and meet me there. They travel here, I meet them. I just feel good about the fact that, we're able to interact with certain people. And yes, writing a blog has become almost a very essential habit of mine. And if I don't, then I get fired by my EF who say, "Wait, are you going to sleep? Where's the blog? Why haven't you written?" So yes, it's a delight. It's a great delight. It gives me an opportunity to talk to these people whom I never knew before, and they never knew any of the others that come onto the blog. But now they all know each other, and it's just a wonderful world that we've created there.
Well, I can't say bye to you without asking you about 45 years of Zanjeer and 40 years of Dawn. So Zanjeer and Dawn, and the fact that this is a landmark year for both of them.
Both the films were exceptional stories. So the credit must go to the writers of the film, Salim Saab and Javed Saab. The writing of Zanjeer and the writing of Dawn was exceptional. And with all due respects, anything that has been made after that has not been able to create the kind of magic that the writing of those films create. They were unusual stories, and they were very, very strong, and they were very, very pertinent at the time they came out, particularly Zanjeer. Dawn was an exceptional screenplay. Just the dual characters and how the other one keeps getting trapped into this maze that the earlier one has left them is just quite amazing. So yes, those films have been very memorable for me.
Thank you very much, sir. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Mr. Kapoor, I've got to sign off with asking you about Khullam Khulla. I mean, it's wonderful how audiences in the UK and around the world have reacted to this on-stage performance. How special is that to you?
Performance,
It's a conversation.
It's a conversation. It's like a one-man show with the aid of an audiovisual, and I have a moderator with me. And I just run through. It's an actor who's performing his autobiography. And I'm just speaking about, there are some incidents, there are some anecdotes which are best heard first person than read. So that is what, it was not my idea. Some people put me into this and they said you should do this because it's my autobiography is not in chronological order. It's anywhere and wherever. So there's that, and yes, audience have enjoyed it. Of course, it's not one of those things which you have thousands of people seeing it. We cannot do this in an audience which is more than 800 people or 1,000 people maximum, because it's a one-to-one, reach. Sit in a stadium and do that. You need in a kind of an auditorium. So yes, I very much enjoy it. Though it's very tiring. You're speaking non-stop 2 hours plus, so it does get me tired, but I enjoy it.
My last question is about Jimit, who's in the movie. I mean, it's not just about the two of you, so a little bit about him.
Wonderful young lad. He's working in the film. He has worked wonderfully. I just marvel at his confidence and the fact that he was facing Mr. Amitabh Bachchan and didn't get nervous of any sort. Anybody would, fall flat when you're working with him. And he has delivered whatever he was meant to do. He's a fine boy. I believe that he's a very successful actor on Gujarati screen also. And I think it's a very welcome role for him in this picture. He's done wonderfully, whatever I've seen in my dubbing. And I wish him all the best and all success to him as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kapoor. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you, namesake.